Greetings. This is another recipe from the Forme of Cury, or the Method of Cooking, a 14th century scroll of recipes. This recipe was for beans fried, is the name of it. And they're actually boiled and then fried. Take beans and seethe them almost till they bursten. Take and wring out the water clean. Do thereto onions, sode, and minced, and garlic therewith. Fry them in oil, or otherwise in grease, and do thereto powder deuce, and serve it forth. Today, for this recipe, I'm using black beans, which are one of the varieties of the common bean, Phaseolus vulgaris. This bean was cultivated throughout the Americas in ancient times, and they weren't introduced to Europe until after Columbus. So the kidney bean, pinto bean, black bean, green beans, Appaloosa beans, tepary beans, runner beans, and lima beans are all Native American species that would not have been available in the Middle Ages until after Columbus. However, in Europe, they did have a variety of beans, including the fava bean, cowpeas, black-eyed peas, yard-long beans, and other peas and beans that they would have eaten as a bean dish. I used 1 1/2 cups of the dried black beans and soaked them in abundant water to totally cover them in the pot. I also used 1/2 of a white onion, 3 cloves of garlic, 1/2 a teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of powder deuce, and 1/2 cup of olive oil. Onions and the garlic were chopped. Beans, once they've been soaked long enough, will swell in size about 3 times. On the right were the soaked beans, on the left were unsoaked dry beans. After soaking the beans, drain the water, rinse them off, and then put them back in fresh water to cook in. This recipe calls for adding the onions to the water with the beans to boil them. I started a fire in order to get some coals to cook over. And then put the pot of beans on the logs when they burned down a bit, and cooked the beans for 3 hours. The longer you cook them, the better. It's important to make sure they don't run out of water, and so after a little while, about 1.5 hours, I did add more water into the pot as the water level had dropped down to the level of the beans. You do not want the beans to burn, so you got to keep the water in them and stir them periodically so that the ones on the bottom don't burn or overcook. After the 3 hours, I used a slotted spatula to remove the beans from the water and place them in a frying pan with the 1/2 cup of olive oil, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, garlic, The beans are frying. Got a tablespoon of powdered juice. Mix in. So the beans were soaked overnight in water, then drained and rinsed, and then boiled in fresh water for 3 hours with the half of onion, and then taken out of the water, put into the frying pan with a half a cup of olive oil and 3 cloves of minced garlic.
I wasn't sure how long to fry the beans. They were already soft, and I didn't want to mash them like refried beans. So I cooked them over the coals for an additional 15 minutes or so.
So we have the beans that were boiled for 3 hours after soaking them overnight. And the soaking is very important. You should soak them, rinse them, and then boil them. The longer you boil them, the better. So you could actually put a pot of beans on the campfire before going on a campaign during the day and have them boil throughout the day, making sure there's plenty of water so it doesn't run out of water. And then when you come back, drain the water and fry them with the extra spices and the garlic and have a nice bean dish. Now this is really a side dish, but if that's all you had, it would certainly be a good meal. The beans are soft, they're not mushy, they have some texture to them, but they're not hard at all. I wasn't sure if this recipe by frying the beans meant to mash them like refried beans, but I chose to keep them whole, which I like them this way. This would be great with a big roast. So the beans have a nice flavor from the powdered juice, the garlic, and the onions. It's really quite a good dish. I hope you enjoyed this.